Good morning, YouTube. This is John with B&B Auto. Today we're going to be taking a look at a 2010 Ford Escape. This is a four-wheel drive XLT model with the 3.0 liter V6. Today we're going to be taking a look at replacing the spark plugs, which we will also need to remove the upper intake to do. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to clean that throttle body and replace the gasket and replace the EGR gasket as well. Let's take a look and get our hood popped open. So here we've got a 2010 Ford Escape. It's got all the options, which is kind of cool. We have got DIC US. We have got 133,000 miles on it. Tire pressure sensor fault. Well, that's interesting. They just had brand new tires put on here. Well, we'll take a look. We'll get this hood popped open. Alright, we've got the hood popped open. We've got the Duratec V6 in here. Kind of a nice little engine. It's got a couple flaws to it, but they seem to last a real long time if you take care of them. So today, to get to the spark plugs, the fronts are fairly easy. They're just right down in here. We just have to get this stuff out of the way. The rear, we'll have to take off this manifold right up here. So to do that, we'll be disconnecting some things, and we also have to take out these EGR bolts right here and pull that away, which there's a gasket in there. So we're gonna get to it. So here's what we've got. We've got the Felpro gasket kit. Comes with the intake gasket and EGR gasket. We're gonna be putting some NGK rutheniums in there. These are very good plugs. They do come pre-gapped. We'll be checking them. You wanna be careful if you do have to re-gap these for any purpose. But they should be good to go right out of the box. Got some throttle body and intake cleaner. We'll be cleaning up the throttle body. We'll spray down the sensors while we're at it with some mass airflow sensor cleaner, so those are good and clean. Stick with us. This should be a very good video. If you haven't done so already, give me a like, subscribe, share, comment down below. Tell me your experience with one of these. Alright, here we go. We're going to begin. We are going to disconnect the battery first, since we will be popping off those coil wires and plenty of other sensors. Just going to disconnect our negative here and get this out of the way. It's nice and stuck. Nice and dirty too. We'll clean that up while we're at it with some battery cleaner and some protectant. Alright, there's a connector right here for a sensor. There's a red locking tab. We just pop that back, give it a squeeze and a wiggle, pull that off. It disconnects from right there. Go ahead and get this hose clamp loosened up right here. Actually, I might just leave that on there. I think we'll disconnect it from the throttle body here instead. We've got a couple push pin clips up here. It can be a little stubborn. You pop up the top first and then just pull them out. Since my last video, it's warmed up quite a bit in Minnesota here. Today it's 33 degrees in the morning, so that's good, I suppose. Alright. This has also got this, PCV line here. So that's got a clip there. There's kind of a tab to it. Pull the tab, Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Try not to, you have to be a little careful. It's not too hard to break one of these off on the intake pipe. Alright, loose there, nothing else connected. Pop that off there. And maybe you can take this right out. I don't think I have to take the air filter off even. It pops right up. Up and out, get that out of the way. We've got the front coils right here. We've got 8mm bolts on them and some funny little push clips. These you push on the back side to release. And they can be kind of stiff. So we'll get those unclipped. Sometimes they can be a little tricky, just got to be a little careful. Oh, the heater's firing up. I guess it's cold enough for that still. But we'll get these pulled off and continue. Helps to use a tool to push down on the connector sometimes, so be careful. Wire harness in the way on this one. There we go. Put that off there. Remove our coil bolts. Carefully going to pop these out of here. We have a couple of these out so they're not quite stuck down. Alright, so we've got our 3 spark plug wells. Taking a look in there, and they're clean in there. There's no oil, no gunk or anything, so that's good. Before I take these plugs out, I'm going to go ahead and blow out these wells, make sure there's not any debris in there that's going to fall down in the cylinders. Alright, those are looking good. So I'm going to go ahead, and I've got a 5/8 spark plug socket on it. It's a swivel extension socket. Works pretty great for this stuff. We can go ahead and drop that in there. Grab our ratchet. Pop these guys loose. Kind of a violent release on these. Got them loose. Just take these out the rest of the way by hand. Alright. So, you can see that if it'll focus. These have a very large gap to them. They have seen better days. Number 2, oh yeah, big gap. I guess these will be 4, 5, and 6, not 1 and 2. So number 6 plug, yep. That's a big old gap too. Alright, Well, next I'm going to go around the perimeter of this and get everything disconnected that resides with this intake. I'm going to leave the throttle body attached to it. Looks like we've got a connector here. We've got a vacuum line here. We've got a vacuum line here. We've got EGR electrical. We've got EGR bolts back there. What else do we have on this guy here? Of course, we've got this sensor up here. We'll take that sensor out and clean it while we're at it. Looks like we just got to pop wiring harness off of here. Kind of get everything disconnected from here. Looks like there's a PCV going into the backside here too. Let's take a look at that. But yeah, just go around here and disconnect these things, and then we'll go after the 8mm bolts that go around the perimeter here. There's one up top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them, kind of one hiding there. All right, I'll put you on time lapse and I'll be back. All right, so we go ahead, we went ahead and got our wires disconnected. We've got 3 connections over here, one back up top to the sensor. We've got this, so this might be a little bit of a pain for you. It's got a real long nipple on it, and the hose clamp is hard to get over the end. And it's got kind of a tight squeeze, so that one's kind of stuck on. I'm gonna deal with that. Once I take this loose, I can pull it forward a little bit and wiggle that off while I'm taking that off. Took 2 10mm bolts out of the EGR right back in here. Just a little 1/4" socket with a 10 will take care of you. I'm gonna go ahead and set you up here. I'm gonna zip out these 8s for this. We'll crack it loose and pop it forward and pull that off there. This bolt is not captured. Dumb camera. Had to reset it this morning and went back to voice commands, so it was stopping when I'd say certain words. Anyway, this big long bolt that's in the top isn't captured, so don't lose it. Go throw it into your parts tray. The rest of these bolts are all captured in here, so they're not going to go anywhere. Alright, being mindful of this sensor so we don't damage it, we're going to give this a little wiggle and pop this up. And we'll be wiggling that off as we take it off here. Oh, we're missing something. What am I missing here? Take a look down here. Looks like there's a bracket that supports the back of it. So I'm going to go ahead and get that off there. Looks like there's one for it in the front. Can't tell if there's a second one back there. Yep, it sure is. You can see back in there, but I can't see it. I can feel it. Alright, well, I'll get those 2 zipped out of there real quick and Alright, now let's see how we're doing here. Oh yeah. This guy wiggle. This one's really sticky. And then you can carefully take this off, get the wires out of the way here. There we go. Now as we can see, we can get to our rear coils, so we can get these disconnected, get these bolts out, and we can take our plugs out back there. I'm going to take the vacuum, kind of clean this up. Put some rags in here and get this edge all cleaned up in here. Put you back on time lapse and we'll get these taken out and cleaned up. Alright, we've got our old plugs out. Let's see what these are at. So you can see that there. Looks like that's 0.072. Yep, same thing. They all look about the same. That one looks pretty bad on the inside of the electrode towards the strap. But the gap is actually a little bit smaller. Yep, they are definitely worn out. Factory on a regular plug like these on this engine is 0.052, so they are 0.02 out of spec. I believe on the ruthenium or the iridium, I think these come pre-gapped at 0.048. They do come with a little protector inside so they don't get damaged in shipping. These boxes look great. And carefully check these. You want to be really careful of the electrode and the tip and everything on these. You do not want to scratch it or damage it or get it out of alignment. We're just going to carefully check it. Seems a little bit small on that. We'll check the other ones and see if they're good. I don't think it will be a problem. I don't think it'll be enough of an issue that we'll need to adjust it. We will adjust that first one. This one comes in at what I thought, 0.047, somewhere right in there. Let's put that one aside. Maybe we'll carefully try to pull that gap open a little. .045. Alright, well I'm going to take the rest of these out and check them, and I think I will carefully try to open these up just a little bit. You don't want to get in there and pry. These little round ones you can kind of hook onto the lip and give a little pressure. So I will do that without damaging the tiny little piece there. So I'll get these out. We'll get the gaps checked and I'll get them closer to that 0.048 where I think they should be on these, and bring you back. Alright, sorry for the noise, heater's running again. We've got our new spark plugs all gap checked and just slightly adjusted. I use my magnetic socket. We're just going to carefully set it down in there. You don't want to drop them down in there, of course. We're just going to get all these started by hand. Got them all started by hand. Go ahead and give these just a little bit of a tighten with the regular ratchet before I torque them. On Ford plugs like these, there isn't the crush washer, so once they're down and tight, they're there. You just want to get the appropriate torque to them. I think the only plugs that I've ever used anti-seize on the threads is that old Ford Triton 3 valve with those plugs that like to get stuck in there. Pain in the butt. Alright, I've just got my little 1/4 inch drive torque wrench. I've got it set up to 144 inch-pounds or 12 foot-pounds. Right there. I'm more of a do-it-by-feel guy for some of these components like this, but if I didn't at least torque them with a torque wrench, you guys would freak out, I'm sure. I'm going to go back with the regular socket and just kind of see how it feels here. The last thing is we want to have a leak at one of our plugs. Obviously we don't want to strip it out or make problems, but yeah, those are good. Alright, so we're going to take our coils. We're going to put a little bit of new dielectric grease in them here. And get them dropped on in. Dielectric grease is just in there to displace water, essentially, if water gets down in there. Drop those in there, wiggle them around a little bit, get them seated. Go ahead and put the connectors back on while we're at it. Make sure they click so they don't fall off there. Alright, got those on there. These start by hand. There we go, heater's off. Go ahead and give those some clicks. I'm sure there's some super light torque setting for these, so I just like to run them down till they're tight. To get that middle one, little manual style. Suppose if I had an electric ratchet, that would make things a little easier, huh? I don't. All right, spark plugs are done. So we're just gonna go ahead and take these out of here and get this surface cleaned up, and we'll go clean up the intake and the throttle body. Alright, well, I think I forgot to hit record on the time lapse. I've got this surface all cleaned up, wiped it down with a rag and some brake clean just to clean off the gunk. And then I use these little polishing wheels off of Amazon on aluminum surfaces. Just high speed, very light pressure. I've used them on heads before and they work great, and just makes it all flattened out and real nice. Clean that off. I blew out the runners using the air compressor, get it down in so it blows everything out. Cleaned off this EGR sealing surface right here with the gasket. So now we will go over, yeah, here's the gasket. So it's just a little aluminum gasket, or aluminum clad fiber gasket. She doesn't look too good, or she doesn't look too bad on this side. But we're gonna go ahead and take off this throttle body and clean it from the other side. We're gonna pop this sensor out, clean that one. And we'll clean this area up down here and get the new gasket put into place. And then we'll get it put back together. Alright, I was going to leave you in time lapse, but I kind of wanted to show you. Here's what you're looking at. So that's from the front side. So somebody has cleaned this out and it looks pretty good, right? Well, I'm going to take your throttle body off because there you go, there's the back side. It's all gunky. It's not sticking because this one does have an appropriate, whatever you call it, gap where it doesn't stick on the sides. But I'm going to go ahead and use some CRC, throttle body and air intake cleaner. That's what I always use when I do these. Not sponsored, it's just what I use. I also popped out this, I'm not sure if this one's a mass airflow sensor or if this one's a MAP sensor, absolute manifold pressure sensor. I could look up the part number, but I don't really care. It doesn't have any issues, but this one, as you can tell, I don't know if you can see that, but man, this one is really gunky. On these sensors, you don't want to use carb cleaner or brake cleaner or anything like that. You want to make sure you're using mass airflow sensor cleaner. You don't want to damage those electronics. Or you could just go ahead and replace it, I suppose. I'm going to put you back in time lapse, get this cleaned up, clean up that sensor, put this thing back together. Alright, we've got our new Velcro gasket installed here. It just pushes right down in there. To get the old one out, there's a little tab where you can kind of hook it with a pick tool. Pop it out of there. This one was it's getting pretty hard. It's not too bad, but it's getting pretty hard. We've got our throttle body all cleaned up, nice and shiny. We've got the airflow sensor here, or pressure sensor, cleaned up. But I know it's clean, and it'll be good to go. Did not have a replacement gasket for this one, but it seems to be in just fine condition, and won't be an issue. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this bolted back on there. Get our sensor back on, and we'll go ahead to and then we'll take you back over to the engine and get this puppy put back in. Alright, we've got everything cleaned up and ready to go back together. I did put just a little bit of dielectric on this tube where that PCV hooks on, just so it kind of slips on there a little more easily. So we're just going to go ahead and look at our gasket, make sure that doesn't slip out of place. Kind of get that lined up. Drop this down into place and get our gotta kind of thread our wires through here. Stuck there on that EGR. Set her down into place. Just kind of run these down a little bit here. Go ahead and get this slipped on before I forget about it. I suppose if I used the hose clamp pliers, this would be a little easier, but it is just tight. There we go. That got connected. I'm gonna go ahead and get things connected before I torque these down. Just because I'm doing it. Click, 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 click. I'm going to leave that one disconnected for a minute. I'm going to go ahead and get those bolts in for that guy. Got a new gasket to sneak in here too. Oh, gravity. Good amount of torque. I think it's 30 foot-pounds. We're just going to give it a little manual clickage here. Click. Click. All right. Go ahead and get some things reconnected here. Got all those back on there. Pop our wiring harness back in so it's not going anywhere. Alright, now do some actual clicks here. So I do believe these are 89 inch-pounds and then 45 degrees additional. So we're going to do that, but we'll essentially be going by feel here. Well, there's our 89. Just give that a little tighten. Yeah, that does seem about right. Alright, it's good. Not going anywhere. Before we get too far carried away here, we've got to get our bolts on our supporting bracket in as well. Go ahead. Alright, forgot to hit the button, but I got that bolt put back in. I did clean up this front sensor in here by taking this pipe off of here and spraying that down with sensor cleaner. So we're going to go ahead and get this air intake put back on here. Line these up. Be careful not to break our PCV connections. See if I can get these lined up on the posts without take the air cleaner back out. Alright. Got that lined back up. Get our connector back on there. loose clamp. Your plastic push pins reinstalled. Voila, we've got spark plugs changed out on this 2010. Little wire connector up there. Take a look around, double check all your connections. Looks good. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and address this battery situation. I'm gonna pull this terminal off, clean this up, and I'm going to spray some cleaner on them, and then I'll put the terminals, and I'll wire brush the terminals and the connections, and I'll put them back on, and we'll spray some protectant on them, and I'll do that in fast mode. Alright, thanks for joining us on this spark plug change on this 2010 Ford Escape. Take a look, I got these battery terminals all cleaned up and sprayed some, what I like to use this stuff, battery corrosion preventative. And yeah, we're going to go ahead and get this thing started up, and we'll get out of here. Nice and smooth, no shaking. Let the customer come pick it up. Again, this is John at B&B Auto. Give us a like, subscribe, share, comment down below, and we'll keep churning out videos. We'll be on more Escapes, Explorers. I've got an F-150 out there I work on from time to time, and thanks for watching.